All right, I'm Nick, functional foodie, and today we're going to be spatchcocking a chicken, which is something that's really handy for making it cook really evenly and consistently, and it also cooks quite a bit faster. Gives you a full meal from a whole chicken. So essentially what you're doing when you spatchcock a chicken is you're taking out the spine and then breaking the keel bone so that the chicken lays out flat, so that you don't have a big cavity that's not getting heat when it's in the oven. So you're also going to take off some any extraneous bits of the chicken. So we're going to do that. We're going to use our shears. You can use pretty much any kind of shears. These are actually kind of industrial shears I just use for cooking purposes. So you're going to nip off the little tailbone. I have a bag off to the side here for scraps because we're going to save those. Okay, so the spine. Just locate the spine right here, and then you want the shears to ride down either side of the spine. So you're not cutting the spine, you're cutting both sides of the spine. And you're essentially just cutting through the ribs. They're small bones, no big deal. Okay, and you're gonna cut all the way to the front, and any kind of little bits of connective tissue or whatever. Okay, so now I come back, do the other side of the spine. This may seem a little gruesome to you, but it's a really handy technique. Doesn't take a lot of time, and it drastically simplifies your cooking process. Okay, so now we're taking the spine out. I'm just gonna cut it in half so it's easier to fit in the bag. We're gonna save all those scraps to make stock at a later date. I'm gonna take these small scissors just because they're a little bit handier for nipping off excess fat. So I'm gonna flip this guy over. Same thing back here. We got some excess fat that comes with the chicken. No big deal. We don't want to cut too much skin off because we want it to stay on for cooking. But that's pretty much it. You know, just want to get all that. If you find any residual feathers or anything from your from when it was plucked, you can pull those guys off. And then I usually take the wingtips off just because they're not really edible. There's something else you can use for stock, and they're like one less little bit that's kind of in the way. Okay, so now we've got pretty much all the extraneous materials removed. So now you get to this point, you can also take off any kind of bits and pieces that are on the inside of the rib cage, just so you can, when you season this later, there'll be like more direct contact with the meat. Okay, so once you get to this point, you just want to take your chef knife. It's really all you need the knife for. And right here is the keel bone. All you want to do is just give it a little whack. Okay, and then you're gonna just push down, and you broke the keel bone, so easy day. Clean it up a little bit more over here. Okay, got all these bits and pieces out of the way. Okay, so now when we flip it over again, you can see now it'll lay down nice and flat. Get our skin over. You can kind of tuck your wings in there. Boom, look how nice that lays down. And the nice thing about this, you can also drape this over your cooking vessel to let anything that drips off of the chicken drip onto your veggies or whatever you're cooking underneath. So there you go. We're spatchcocking your chicken. Even with talking about it, it took about less than 4.5 minutes. When I just did it without any exposition, it only took about 2 minutes and 40 seconds. So obviously it's a very fast process, and it might speed your cooking time up by half an hour or more. Also, it just allows you a lot more access to the meat on the inside. So when you do your seasoning, which we'll do here in a minute, you'll just get a lot more direct contact with that meat, like I was saying, with your seasoning, rather than if you just have a whole chicken with a cavity in the middle. So there you have it. Be right back. All right, now we're gonna season the chicken. So I'm just gonna start with salt. And a nice generous salting on there. And then just to keep it simple, I'm just gonna use lemon pepper. It usually comes in a shaker, but I stole the shaker for this one, so just give that a coat. It's just lemon granules and black pepper, just to keep this recipe real simple. You can find it in pretty much any seasoning department of your grocery store. Okay, so we're gonna just flip them over. And we'll just salt the other side. And partly salting the skin is gonna bring moisture out of the skin and let it crisp up nicely. So and obviously you could use, if you had a shaker, you could keep your hands a little cleaner than I am. But okay, now we've got a little bit of so one thing I'm going to do is just kind of slide my fingers under the skin here. I don't want to tear the skin, just kind of creating a little bit of a pocket in there. It's usually loose anyway, so now I'm going to take some of the seasoning and just rub it in. Really get it in there. And that's going to help it cook into the actual meat. Again, you can do the same thing over here with the thighs. Just put a little bit in there. You can also, if you're a garlic fan, you throw some chopped garlic or garlic clove in there into that space. Okay, so you see this lemon pepper starting to kind of dissolve and turn into kind of a coating, which is good. It's a good thing. Let's see, and I'm just gonna add a little more salt inside. And we're gonna cook it with the skin on, because the skin, even if you didn't want to eat the skin, which you should because it's awesome, but even if you didn't want to eat the skin later, you should still cook it with the skin on, because you get a lot of good juicy fats and stuff out of there that will make your meat nice and tender. All right, so real quick, I'm gonna reconfigure. We're gonna put this over our vegetables and get it ready to cook. Okay, so earlier I prepped the vegetables. Essentially, I just cut a few of the potatoes that were a little bigger than the other ones, so they're all about the same size. And I also cut the carrots as I showed earlier. And then I gave everything a light coat of oil by shaking it in a 1 gallon Ziploc bag. And the reason for that is that vegetables in the oven cook much more evenly and quickly when they have a light coat of oil, because the oil is heating up on the surface of the vegetable, as opposed to the air just heating the surface. So the oil can get much hotter than the air can. So, and I've kept the carrots sort of segregated because we're going to par cook them over here, and then we're going to finish them in a pan later so we can glaze them with our orange. And then also all of the vegetables got a light coat of salt and pepper. Pepper is optional. I'd say salt you definitely need, but it's up to you, to your taste. Okay, we got our vegetables here. Like I said, we got them segregated so we can pull these carrots out and finish them in a pan later. And we're just gonna take our whole chicken here, and I'm just gonna drape it over the vegetables. Fits right in here, nothing fancy. This is just your average little casserole dish, nothing crazy. Throw a little more lemon pepper on the side that kind of got a little bit less. So that's it, ready to go in the oven.